Hello and welcome. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Iris. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Made it just in the nick of time.
Yeah, I didn't realize you had to register to
Yeah.
join. So
Well, I guess it's time for us to start. We do have some people here with us, and hopefully more will join us. Shall we kick it off? Oh, we have. Well, hi everyone. I'm Iris. I'm part of the KCD organizing team and a CNCF ambassador. I'm going to be your host and moderator today. We're going to talk about call for proposals and how to rock at them, basically. And we have an amazing panel of some superstars here, and I'm going to pass the mic to them so they can introduce themselves. Adriana?
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Please, Adriana.
No, it's okay.
You go ahead.
I'm Michel. Everyone call me Mitch, and I'm a CNCF ambassador, a developer advocate. I do a lot of conference, and I like to propose some call for paper, and after that speak around. I started to do talks around 20 years ago, and the first one was very strange because I don't understand that it's a talk. When a friend say to me, "Oh, you know this technology, maybe you can join with us and start to explain how this technology work." But in my imagination was like drink a beer together and after that start to talk. At the end, I joined to the event, and after that I find 20 people in a room, and all the people wait to me to start to talk, and this is it, my first talk around 20 years ago. Of course, now it's better, and I love to do that. Sorry, I'm from Italy. My English is not perfect, but I'm hope that it's fine for you.
I'll go next. My name is Adriana Villela. I am originally from Brazil, but I live in Toronto, Canada. I am a principal developer advocate at Dynatrace. I've been a CNCF ambassador since, I want to say, 2023. I guess I've been doing talks off and on for a while, but I'd say more seriously with larger audiences, probably since around 2023. I think I had my first KubeCon speaking opportunity in 2023. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. And I can't wait to get into the meaty bits of CFP writing because I'm sure we all have some fun stories to share. I'm going to nominate Mario as the next.
Hi, I'm Mario. I am from Germany, and I'm working as a custom delivery architect for Qmatic. I started public speaking around 2016 when I founded the Google Developer Group for Cloud in Munich, and yeah, it evolved a bit. I'm currently a co-chair for the newly formed Tech Operational Resilience and also a co-chair for SIG Kubernetes, the Kubernetes SIG of contributor experience. And mainly the last years I was in reviewing panels for Rejects, for KubeCon, and for Container Days in Europe. And I want to hand over to Marino.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. Hopefully y'all can hear me. Yes, you can, because I can see myself go blue. My name is Marino Wijay. I am also based in Canada, not too far away from Adriana. I'm somewhere close to Toronto, fellow Canadian here. And I work as a solutions architect at a company called Kong. So we deal in API gateways and AI stuff as well. I've been delivering talks for probably more so in the last few years, a lot in a variety of different ways, from being on stage at KubeCon, at some of the Colo events, to events like DevOps Days, and even more recently a KCD event, KCD New York right here. And I just realized that like my camera is actually backwards. I don't know why it's doing that. Maybe, I don't know. It's all good. But I've got some tips to also share as well. I've also been a reviewer for some of these CFPs, one for CiliumCon back in for Paris. And then I was also a reviewer for a particular track I can't say yet. I think that'll all get announced after the talks are released and the schedule's released. But I just did the recent round for KubeCon. And it was just, it's a lot of work to review CFPs, but you also start to realize that there are a lot of interesting perspectives and takes that come out of those CFPs. And I'd be happy to share, what to really look out for when you're writing yours.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Since we're all sharing where we're joining from, I see that we have 2 participants from India. I want to share that I'm from Portugal, so we're from all over the place today. It's amazing to see. And as you join, please let us know where you're joining from. And if you have any questions, there is a Q&A button there, and we're going to get to those questions in the end. So let's start with the goodies, with what we really are here for. So, call for proposals. You are all, as explained, experts in your own subjects, and you've been speaking a lot. You've been participating a lot. What do you think are some common misconceptions about CFPs?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions around CFPs is that people think that they have to be an expert in a topic before they can submit a proposal. And one tip that someone gave me early on in my DevRel career is, you know what, you can use a CFP as an opportunity to force you to learn about a topic.
That's amazing.
Anyone else want to add on?
Yeah. So, one other misconception that is around those CFPs is that when you're thinking about that CFP, you can still talk about your company's product. You just don't want to come across as delivering a pitch. And that's really important, right? Like, there are a lot of great problems that have been solved with enterprise technology. And your CFP, your abstract, doesn't have to be focused entirely on open source software. It could be a strategy and a methodology in usage of enterprise technology as well.
Okay, in this line, I want to add also that it's not just for technical people. Also, non-technical people can provide a good contents, maybe not deep dive on technologies, but for sure with a lot of perspective and with a lot of different point of view. And from this point, it's a very good stuff for a lot of conferences.
And I think another misconception to add is that people will not take too much time to review your proposal. You must imagine that they are like, for example, for KubeCon, for some of the tracks, there are like over 200 to 300 proposals that you need to review in like less than a week, beside of all of your normal daily business. So it can basically boil down that the proposal that is being reviewed is between 30 seconds and 90 seconds, and that's it. That's all of the attention that your proposal will get. And in this time, you need to convince the reviewer that it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been a reviewer for some tracks as well. I completely agree with the last one. I mean, with everything, but yeah, it's so many of them. You really have to strike to the reviewer and say, okay, this is a good one. Because if it takes too long to understand and too long to know what the point of the whole proposal is, you're probably not doing it well. And when it comes to events, how do you choose the events that you are submitting to? Do you have some bookmarks that every time you check what is there, or do you have some preferred events, conferences? How do you choose them?
I think it's easy to. I think a lot of people are like very attracted to like the KubeCons and the open source summits, and I think absolutely apply for those. Those are definitely my favorites. The co-located events for KubeCons as well are great. If you're but the acceptance rate for KubeCon is like really low, and it can be like very demoralizing, right? If you get rejected, even if you're experienced CFP writer, and if you've spoken at KubeCons before, it's still demoralizing when you get rejected. So I would say even like for someone who's just getting started, yeah, aim for the stars, but also like submit to speak at meetups. Submit to speak at KCDs and DevOps days. They're such a great way to get your feet wet. And they should not be disregarded. Like if anything, I think the KCDs and the DevOps days should be like on your top list of things to apply for. And having attended KCD Porto last year, it was such a lovely conference, and I got to speak there as well. And yeah, they're cozy and small, and KubeCons can be large and overwhelming. So it depends on your vibe too.
I just shared a link to a conference agenda that folks, if you're interested in seeing any kind of conference that's out there and who's still accepting CFPs, go check it out. It's by one of our community members, Aurélie Vache. So she spends a lot of time maintaining this, and anytime a new conference pops up, she adds those details, and she encourages others to also add those details as well. Along the lines of events, consider online events too, right? There are online events that are very large with large attendances. There's this event that we're doing right now, which is yet another opportunity to get up on stage and share your perspective. And I say that because everything counts. If you have a CFP reviewer that is reviewing your talk, they may do a quick scan of a bunch of sessions you might have done previously, and they might just stumble upon that online session you did, and they're using that as their baseline to determine whether or not they want to move you forward.
I agree. This is basically also the main website that I use for events. Usually, when it comes to your company, a lot of companies also maintain like what are the relevant events for our company, because maybe you don't want to, or your company is not focusing on the classical cloud native market because you're an end user company, but maybe you're selling into specific markets, and there might be some fairs that are specific for those areas. So for example, there's like manufacturing fairs that are also now touching in cloud native topics because everyone needs to run software somewhere. And also those are events that you should consider going to. And especially when you come from a technical point of view, this might be even easier to get into because at KubeCon, everyone is probably talking about cloud native stuff. At a tech conference for Industry 4.0, maybe not so many, but it's also a relevant topic there.
In my case, I mixed all the stuff that you say. For example, I love for sure KubeCon and also the KCDs. For example, with Marino, we last week we have in the New York for the KCD New York. But I love also the local community, and I try to mix some international conferences or conferences with meetups and user group and so on. About the online, for sure, it's great, but in my experience, but this is it's valid for me. I'm not sure it's for everyone. I prefer physical events where you can meet people and so on. And for this reason, the majority of the new conference that I discover, it's from friends. For example, when you join in a conference, you can find new people. After that, you continue to talk online. And sometimes these friends around say to you, there is this conference, maybe you can try and so on. It's like my experience with the KCD Porto. I know a couple of people around and they say, oh, there is KCD Porto. And last year I apply. And after that, I do a talk in the conference. For sure, it's a valid stuff related also about the reputation about the speaker. I have a couple of contents online, but yeah, in my case, I prefer physical one.
Yeah, it's a great advice. And when it comes to actually writing the call for proposal, so you decide, okay, you see a conference that you're interested in. What is your process? I ask because there are a lot of people that want to talk and think of something, an idea or something that they've been working at their companies and they want to share it, or some crazy concept that they came up with that they want to share with the community, but they don't know if it's a good idea or not. How do you come up with a good idea for a talk?
I would say look for something that is not talked about often, but people are interested in learning about. I think like my most successful talk submissions were the ones where it's like, oh, like I'll give you an example. A few years back, I did a talk on like the observability of CI/CD pipelines, and I was doing some research on that for something else that I was working on. And then I messaged like my longtime co-speaker Reese, and I'm like, oh my God, there's like no materials on observability of CI/CD pipelines. And she's like, oh my God, we should do a talk on that. Like, and I think those are the things that really catch attention, right? I think they can't be so niche that people are like, what the hell is this? I think they have to be like a unique use case, something that I think people will crave to learn about, but they just don't have information on.
Okay, in my case, it's hard because it's also part of my work. Sometimes I need to discuss with my company to choose the right topics, but of course, it's part of the job. I try to mix the topic that are interesting for the company with the stuff that it's useful for the community. And after that, I try to have 2 or 3 different main topic during the year. Like at this moment, it is the developer experience, and I try to create title and abstract on that. Sometimes I ask to other speaker to review my Clifford paper before sending it, just to understand if the message are clear, if looks good, and so on. But yeah, I think a good suggestion can be find some stuff that it's useful for you, also for learn, and useful for the community. And if you work in a company and talk around, it's part of your job. Also, it's useful for the company. It's like find the right mix on this.
Yeah, for me, it's basically usually 2 ways to find topics. One way is for things that are new or are about to change. So, for example, when pod security policies went away or were deprecated, I made a talk about the policy engines that were around. And the funny thing is, the following 3 years, I reviewed talks that basically had the same content and more or less the same topic. So when you're early, it's pretty easy to get in, or things that are current. So for example, my most accepted talk this year is about Cyber Resiliency Act in Europe, which is a most pressing topic for most of the companies. So this is something that people want to know about. And the other, and this is basically the easiest way to get talk topics, is contribute to open source. Because I usually have a maintainer track session for contributor experience. I have a session for the tag where you can automatically talk about it. And even if it's not KubeCon, most of the folks are interested in what is going on in the open source world, because not a lot of folks know how it works. So one talk, for example, is how does the biggest or the second largest open source project in the world function in from a governing perspective? And this is pretty easy to come up, and also the community is benefiting from it because we are always looking for people to contribute.
Yeah, I want to +1 that too, because sometimes you hear about technologies being talked about, 4 or 5 years ago and have just graduated in different ways. I'm not talking about like a CNCF graduation, but just from a maturity model, from the fact that many people are using it, but it's just well hidden and not really talked about, only because people realize they actually need it as a big part of their deployment strategies or infrastructure. That's very important. Talk about something that someone might have already talked about as well, but put a spin on it, provide a different perspective. Because I think when people, introduce a topic for the very first time, they're not covering all dimensions of it. They miss some dimensions, and it's worth talking about as well. And then maybe if you're thinking about a talk, if you're comfortable, partner with someone who is a specialist in another area. For example, OpenTelemetry goes very well with service mesh and gateway technology, and you could tell a very stitched story there between two people. And I find those talks to be very valuable because you're bringing in multiple perspectives into the conversation versus, here's just my view on something.
I want just to add another suggestion about the topic, because from my point of view, it's very important. Sometimes, or also me, I do a lot of review for KCD, for other events, and I start to saw like trends. Now it's AI. All the people send stuff about AI in any context, in any kind of I don't know. Is not necessary. Sometimes, of course, you need to find the right conference for your topic, but you don't need to follow in any case the trend. You can choose to be an expert about, I don't know, observability, and don't talk about AI in the observability. It's fine. And for sure, if you send a good call for paper, you can find your space in conferences. In the last years, with AI, I saw a lot of people that are very great speakers starting to introduce AI in any kind of topic. And sometimes I think it's not necessary. From this point of view, I think better to have your path, find conference related to your topic, and don't put trends in any case. Of course, sometimes it's good because maybe you know or you want to add stuff about new trends, but not in any case.
Yeah, I +1 on the AI fatigue. Like I've reviewed CFPs for a number of KubeCons and for co-located events, and it's almost like a lot of them are like the same thing over and over and over again. And unless you have like an amazingly unique spin on AI, like can we just get a little creative and not always talk about AI? I think it gets a little too saturated, and I don't think people only want to hear about AI.
Yeah, go ahead, Marino.
Oh, I was going to agree. Like when I did my last round of reviews, I was surprised that a good chunk of them didn't have the word AI in it, and then the ones that I did read that had some AI, they just like tried to shim that word in somehow. Like they had to have a sentence or something. It doesn't improve your chances just because you're talking about AI. In your talk, like if you get accepted, sure, bring it up. But having the word AI or some variation of it doesn't necessarily increase your chances just because we're starting to see that as a common trend within the industry. So, we can totally just disregard it and just talk about the core ideals of what your talk's supposed to be about. And if you get that space on stage, well, bring up what you're working on with AI if you feel like you need to. That doesn't dismiss or limit your chances by not having it there. I think it hurts your chances by finding a way to put it in there just because everyone else is doing it.
And since we're on the topic of AI, what are your thoughts on actually using AI to write your proposals? It was touched a little bit here, but could it be a useful tool
No.
for people?
No.
Okay.
I mean, yes, to some degree. For example, I use because English is not my native language, and I make mistakes when writing it. So I basically use grammar tools to review my grammar with the help of AI. So this is something that, but basically letting an AI write your proposal is something. Yes, they have improved, but people who are reviewing your talks can smell AI generated content 500 meters towards the wind. So if you use it, at least put the people are taking the effort to review your proposal, to look at it, and to assess it. So please be also so fair to not just put in a prompt and blindly copy and paste whatever goes in there, because they will see it.
I so agree with that. And I would say, like, sometimes I'll use AI if I'm like trying to figure out how to express something a little more succinctly. And then it'll give me ideas. I won't necessarily copy the entire sentence because I would say 9 times out of 10, I'm like, ew, but there will be, a couple words in the sentence where I'm like, okay, I like that idea. I'm going to incorporate that. So it helps me be a little less verbose, but yeah, like abdicating CFP writing to AI, big no, big ew. We know. And same with the titles, like, use AI to like give you inspiration for generating titles, but please do not use like the AI generated title verbatim, because again, ew, super obvious.
I was like this close to taking all of the abstracts I read and just like throwing it into ChatGPT to see like if it could grade it for me. But I don't think you'd want your reviewers doing that, right? So I think it's a two-way street. I totally agree with what Adriana and Mario just said. Like, take some ideas, take inspiration from your models that you're using, use it to help tighten up the messaging, but don't ask it to write your abstract for you. And also, like, Adriana mentioned a point earlier on, like, to talk about something that you're not very familiar with. If you have absolutely no concept of some technology, it's your job to go learn about it. Don't just feed an idea into ChatGPT or Claude and say, give me an abstract, because they're buzzwords, they're keywords in our industry today. You really have to think about what you're talking about and have an idea of what you're about to submit, but at the same time, go learn about it before you actually show up on stage if you get accepted.
Of course, I agree. A suggestion to choose to use AI tool is when you write a prompt, if you in the prompt write your abstract and ask to the prompt to, I don't know, do grammar check or try to improve it a little bit, can be fine. Of course, you don't need to use a prompt as an input and have the abstract as an output. In my case, I love also the part about the writing the abstract, because sometimes when you start to write your abstract, after that you read it and maybe you discuss with friends about the abstract and, let me say, do review on that. I think it's one of the most important part about a talk. I know it's not the talk, but it's before the talk, before the progression of your session. But I think that is the most important creative part of your talk. If you read your abstract, write your abstract, and after that read, change it, and so on, it's part of the process to create your talk. And this can be a very, very great occasion to learn, to understand the goal, the scope of your talk. And I think it's very important. Don't use AI, except about the selection, and the AI can generate a lot of abstract, very similar. And of course, when you do a review after 2, 3 very similar abstract, maybe you understand that there is AI. But it's also for you. If you want to do this kind of contribute to the community, all the stuff about the talk starting with your title and after that with your abstract, and you need to work on that. And let me say also for the slide, maybe there is a lot of tool that can create a slide for you. Maybe you can use the tool if you are not a very graphic designer person. But of course, you need to choose each kind of image or word that you put in your slide, because it's super important that you have the control of your contents.
And in Sessionize, from what I remember, there is something called similar talks. So if you have used AI to write your talks, it's going to detect, even if it's not the same topic, just because of the
That's true.
languaging, it's going to detect it. So yeah,
That's
it's
true. That's a good
you're gonna
point.
get caught. Because I saw it recently, I'm like, I hadn't seen this before. This is a cool feature to know exactly what the language is being used. But yeah, honestly, I see it from my university days. My professor used to say that Wikipedia is a good resource to start your research paper. So yeah, maybe use AI as a good start to build a structure, but then give it your own spin. Because yeah, right now it's not good enough to make it unique for everyone. And before we move to something that is more about how we feel after our talks are accepted or not, I wanted to hear from you. What do you think makes a strong abstract when you read it? It's like one or two things that come to your mind when you first think of a strong abstract.
I think for me, clearly stating what you're going to discuss and what people expect to learn. Because I think it's good, like, I think it's important in an abstract, like, to include, like, preambles, like, kind of to introduce the topic. That's important. But I think, so introduce the topic, say what you're going to discuss, what are the takeaways? Because if they don't know what they're getting out of your talk, then why are you there? And then I think, especially for the KubeCons, there's often a section of benefits to the ecosystem. And I take this piece of advice from Marino, who's given it before, which is like, don't skimp out on benefits to the ecosystem. It's there for a reason. So if I see, like, if I'm reviewing KubeCon talk proposal and I see like 3 sentences and benefits, and it doesn't look like you put much effort, like, it's like, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to accept it. Now, I have come across some benefits to the ecosystem sections where they are so well explained in 2 to 3 sentences. I'm like, all right, hats off. But I would say definitely invest the time to explain why this matters. Why should I care? This is your opportunity, especially we're limited on character counts in abstracts. This is your opportunity to elaborate on some stuff.
I want to plus one that, like, if you're not expanding on your benefits to the ecosystem, where you have nearly unlimited amount of characters to go in and throw in your details, you're definitely missing out. Not a lot of CFPs have those particular sections, like the benefits to the ecosystem or what the community gains. But when you see it, that's your opportunity to really expand and clarify things, because sometimes your abstract can come across as ambiguous as well. And that's an opportunity to really, dive a little bit deeper. The other thing that I look for in abstracts is a clear problem and a clear end to us, or a clear path to a solution. You don't have to give away the problem and the solution, but if you give enough hints, it really adds to the effect of what that CFP should be and what it should look like.
My general suggestion about the call for paper in general, it's if there is a field, also optional field, and the organizer put the field in the form, maybe there is a reason. And in any case, you need to fill in the best way all the fields. Just an example, like sometimes I read great content in the abstract, but the level of the talk is wrong related to the abstract. Maybe sometimes, I don't know, the level it's for beginners or for any, but in the abstract you find a lot of technologies and deep dive on tech stuff. And of course, in this case, there is no, let me say, good points on the application, because sometimes there is not clear to understand if the speaker want to talk about stuff for everyone or for expert people and so on. In my case, the only suggestion about that about the call for paper is this one, and another one was about the length. Okay, some conferences have limitation about the minimum number of word and maximum number of word in the abstract. But if there is no limitation, please don't put just one sentence and don't put a book inside the abstract. You need to find the right number of sentences and words in the abstract to be clear about the topic, also the problem and the solution and the path to reach the solution from the problem. But don't use a lot of space, and also in the other side, try to explain a better way your talk.
Yeah, huge plus one on this, and also basically to chime in a little bit more, read this call for proposal. Especially there are categories, there are specific, as mentioned, skill levels and stuff like this, because it always comes, or there's often the time that conferences review talks by track. And I don't want to hear about your database in the platform engineering track. And basically, when you put this in the platform engineering track, I will kick it out. It is not fitting. So please invest the time to really read what is the call for proposal, what are the different points that they want to know, and elaborate on them.
Yeah. And honestly, if I would chime in here, because why not? It's always a great idea to have someone else review it for you, because sometimes, especially if it's a very technical topic, you are so used to it and in your mind it all makes sense, but when you're writing it, it might not. So having a partner read it that hasn't been as involved as you, it really helps. So your proposal will talk to a person that hasn't been working with the technology, because at the end of the day, you are teaching them something. But yeah, so now going from how to write to emotions after submitting one. So sometimes our talks get accepted, sometimes they get rejected. How do you handle the rejection of your proposals?
I think take the time to mourn. It's okay. Sit with your feelings for a bit. We're human, but don't sit on them for too long. Because I think just because one conference didn't like it doesn't mean another one won't. And so, I think a lot of people are like, oh, I always have to submit unique talks to each different conference. No. Submit the same talk to a bunch of different conferences and see which one sticks. That's a good strategy, and chances are someone will like it. And if nobody likes it, then that's okay. Maybe that's a sign either the topic's not interesting enough or you didn't convey it well enough in your abstract, and that's an opportunity for you to go and rework it. But it's okay to sit with your feelings for a while and cry. I think crying is a very way to just get all the emotions out. But once you're done crying, it's then make a plan for what to do next.
It's normal. In 2019, I do 32 talks in a year, but I send, I don't know, 100 talks, maybe. No, I'm joking, but I send a lot of talks, and sometimes they say no. My suggestion is the organizers, maybe you can ask a feedback about the selection. Sometimes you can have a good feedback about your title, abstract, and so on, and you can get this feedback and try to put in your abstract at the end, because it title or abstract this feedback to improve it. And also the Adriana suggestion, it's very, very good, because there is a lot of different conferences, a lot of different meetups, groups, and so on. And some talks that don't work for a conference, maybe they can work for others. Of course, it's hard in the beginning because it's all new for you and you don't know about the preferences. And also, if you read the information about the call for a speaker, maybe it's not too clear for you in the beginning. But some conferences, for example, just to put a couple of examples, in Italy there is a conference related to the cloud, and the organizer is very explicit. If you do this talk before this conference in another place, it's not for us, because we want just original talks. You know that if you want to prepare a talk for us, you are welcome. In other case, no. I do the review for this conference, and there is a lot of duplicate of talks. And of course, you can imagine that all the reviewers say no to this kind of talks, because one of the rule to the program committee was no, only original talks. Okay, it's a strange rule in this case because for the speaker it's very expansive, create new title and abstract, but it's just an example. If you read all the guidelines related to the events, you can find all the stuff that you can help you to write a good content for the conference. And if you try it and the talk don't work to the conference, maybe it's not also related to the topics, because for example, in the case of Italy last year, we had a lot of proposal and a lot of good proposal, but we had only, I don't know, 12 slot, and we need to choose. And sometimes we ask it to speaker to have the talk during the meetups or the occasion. Sometimes it's also not related to your talk, but also to the space. I don't know about KubeCon, but for sure there is a lot of talks, but there is also a lot of proposal. And sometimes good proposal can be accepted just for space. It's not about you. Sometimes it's about the conference. And don't be demoralized on that. Don't be sad about that, because it's happened also to professional speakers.
Yeah, I totally feel a lot of this because I think I had somewhere of around a 30% acceptance rate between 2023 and 2024, maybe even 2022. And the thing to realize is that, you know, maybe like others have said, your talk might not fit for one particular conference or for one particular region, but fits elsewhere. So it doesn't mean that you abandon the talk altogether. It's an opportunity to just, you know, reflect, obviously, because you don't have a lot of feedback. And not always are you given that feedback too, even if you ask for it, surprisingly. And it's because people review so many CFPs that it's just impractical to try and provide so much feedback. But that abstract that you wrote can suddenly become a blog post, or it can become your own live stream, or it could be presented at a meetup, or it could be turned into a workshop. There's so many different ways you can take that in different directions. And then once people have the opportunity to see that piece of work that you've developed, now you've given yourself another chance to possibly submit that elsewhere, maybe a variation of it, and have it accepted, because now these reviewers have an idea of how you would present that. They can understand your speaking style. They can understand if you're aligned and an expert, or you understand what you're talking about as well. I'll be honest, it was very painful to see my rejections for KubeCon. And I still get rejected from KubeCon. I mean, it's not like I always get accepted to those events. I think my happiest moment was when my tutorial for networking was submitted to KubeCon, and it was accepted in, I think it was Detroit. Yeah, Detroit. And it was like mind-blowing for me because, one, I'm up on stage in front of so many people, and it's a tutorial, so it's an extra long session too. And I'll tell you something, like, a lot of people don't actually submit tutorials because it's not just about developing a talk. You actually have to put something together and make it work and make sure that it works for others. And it's an experience altogether. So those are other avenues for you to try your success with your abstract. Turn it into tutorial if you can.
Yeah. Also, when what happened to me sometimes was when you get waitlisted. The chances when you're waitlisted are not that low that your talk will basically be accepted afterwards. So this happened for me twice in the past. And they sometimes even ask you is, hey, you submitted a full half an hour session, can you do a lightning talk out of this? And suddenly I had a lightning talk at the AI day before KubeCon, and basically was the second slot after the keynote who opened up for in front of a full room or for the AI day. And so this waitlist is not a rejection. This can still turn into an acceptance. And also what basically everyone already said, it's I was really, really sad 2019, 2018 when I handed in talks for a lot of conferences and always was rejected. And my wife said, there will be the point where you have so many accepted talks that you are sick of going to conferences to speak because time is not permitting it, and this can happen sooner than later, because you also will get the what Mitch said was basically, at one point you will get accepted, and then maybe you get accepted at 3 or 4 conferences in a row, and then you're basically 3 or 4 weeks in a row on the road, because all of those conferences of course are back to back, and then you're wishing that some of those talks would be rejected.
And from what I see in your background, I see a lot of badges of conferences. So your wife was right after all.
Yeah.
So we are kind of running out of time. I can't believe it. we still have so much to talk, but I just wanted to close it for the first timers. Hopefully we have some in the audience today, or maybe they're going to watch this recording later. What do you say to that person that is telling you, I'm not ready yet? I don't know if I'm ready yet. What would your advice be if they're watching you right now?
You'll never be ready, and that's okay. Just push through it. Just do it. Just do it. You have nothing to lose. Honestly, if anything, you submit a CFP and it gets rejected, you have now experienced submitting a CFP. And if you get in, like I said earlier, it's an opportunity to learn something more deeply that you're interested in. And there's nothing more compelling than having a deadline for a talk to force you to learn that thing.
My suggestion is be honest with yourself, your audience, and for sure it's art in any time. Also for me, I start to do public speaking in English just a couple of years ago, and after 10 years, I don't know, 15 years in Italy, uh, and also now it's very hard for me go on stage and talk about stuff because sometimes you know a technology, and maybe in front of you you have maintainer of these technologies, and yeah, can be hard. But if you be honest with your audience, can be fine, absolutely fine. If you start to learn a technology and you decide to provide a talk after, I don't know, 2 weeks that you study this technology, and you start your talk saying, guys, it's my, I don't know, third week with this technology, and this talk I will explain you what I understand. This can work because I do that with a very super big maintainer in a technology, and for sure during the talk I do a lot of mistake, but the people in front of me are very kindly, and they are at the end of the talk say, maybe you can do that in this way, that is better, and maybe you can try to improve this part about your talk because I don't know, it's different and so on. And also in this case, I learned a lot, and yeah, everyone, or just last stuff, everyone can explain stuff. Also, if you start to, let me say, do this job, I don't know, 1 month ago, maybe you in this month you learn stuff, and for sure there is occasion also for talk about your first month in this world. Of course, maybe there is no KubeCon the first month, but there is meetups, there is community, there is online events, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So I'll add that, and we've talked about this before, meetups are a great low barrier to entry. They're very unintimidating because a lot of people in that room are probably just as scared as you to go up on stage and speak. It's a great way to just test out your very first talk if you've never spoken before too, and you have a much higher likelihood of getting accepted to a meetup, which starts off your career of speaking out there. The second thing I would say is if you're really thinking about talks, right, reach out to the organizing team of a conference. It might be a little bit harder with a KubeCon, but if you know people at KubeCon that have reviewed CFPs before, reach out to them and have them review your CFP to provide you some tips and tricks as well to maybe improve upon it, because having another set of eyes really does help that CFP go a little bit further. And you'd be surprised, like maybe some of those organizers of that conference might even be on the CFP committee team, and they come around and see your CFP submission and may be a lot more likely to accept it because they saw that you took that feedback and they saw that you were willing to make those modifications to make that CFP a lot more attractive.
Also, don't stress yourself out. Everyone, and this was already said, everyone basically, no one wants to eat you on stage. Most of the people are also afraid, and they are glad that someone is in front of them and talking about stuff and explaining stuff, because everyone knows that being on stage is not a simple task. First, you did something to get the knowledge, and secondly, you brought up, or you yourself convinced you that you will be the person that can speak in front of other people, and a lot of people struggling exactly with this. So everyone basically tries to be as friendly as possible because they don't want to be at the place where you currently are in front of them, basically. And I think this is also, meetups is the best advice. I started also with meetups. It's easy to get feedback there. And also, it doesn't need to be a half an hour talk. It can also be lightning talks. A lot of meetups just want to have like lightning talks, which is 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and to just get a grab and get a feel for it. And yeah, just start doing things. There's not a too early or too late or anything.
Yeah. I think we are very close to ending, so I would urge everyone again to ask questions, but we have 2 questions that I thought of. And one that I found very interesting because, of course, we talk amongst ourselves about the profile. So you have the abstract, you have the title, but how do you craft your profile so it becomes interesting? Because the speaker is also a part of the evaluation, right? You give a start to the speaker. So what would your advice be to make your profile very interesting for the reviewers?
Make it fun. I would say make it fun, like not like obviously take yourself seriously, but make it fun. Just include a fun fact about yourself. The other thing that I would say that's really important is to be able to evaluate a speaker. I think it's important to have like samples of them speaking. And if you don't have any speaker experience, that's fine, but I like for Kubernetes, they encourage you to like, if you don't have experience, to like record a video of yourself, just introducing yourself, to get a feel for how you present, because I think that's really important. Like as an evaluator, you're going to lose points from me if you don't include a sample of like your speaking, because how can I evaluate you as a speaker? Like, yes, your profile is important, and it's important to list off your accomplishments and all that. I think that's very valuable, but like, I need to know how you're going to present at the end of the day.
Also be yourself. Be basically, it doesn't make sense if you're not a person, if you're not the person that you try to bring over, especially also when you're when you're doing the talk. You have your own style. Don't let be influenced by any other, and please do not put something in like X Google, X Microsoft, X whatever. Nobody cares. And it also is
Plus
not
one.
any validation on you.
I'll just add that, find a way to be engaging. If you want to kill some time, surveys, doing something like a Slido is a great way to engage your audience and make it fun at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with all the suggestions, and I will add also to create your online presence. For example, in session nights, you can have a public profile. You can write your biography and put your events also outside the platform. In session nights, you can put event from other platform inside session nights, and you can have it in your profile. Also, LinkedIn. But if you are in the Slack, for example, for communities, try to talk and to share and to, let me say, at the end, create your online reputation, because it's part of the job. But I agree 100% with Mario. Be yourself, and your style, it's fine. There is no any kind of restriction on that. And yeah.
Perfect, thank you. And just to wrap it up, is there any other resources other than the meetups that you would recommend anyone who is a first-time speaker to join, like some mentorship or something that you can think of? But of course, if you can think of something, if there is nothing like that.
There's some advice that someone gave me when I was like starting to get more into speaking, and that was like, pair up with somebody who's had a pretty good success rate in getting their talks accepted, because that helps, right? They know what it takes to write a winning CFP. So pair up with them, and if you're starting to get your name out there, pair up with someone who's well known in the community. Plus, I mean, it takes a lot of, especially if like you're a more novice speaker, it takes a lot of the burden off, right? Because you're not having to deliver an entire talk yourself. You're delivering it now with somebody else, and that's super helpful.
Absolutely.
Okay, I will provide my secret suggestion. It's very, very important, and it's not for all, but read the agendas to the events. You want to apply, I don't know, at the KubeCon or at KCT or to any events. Maybe there is not the first edition, there is a past agenda. Look the agenda. Try to understand why the speaker are in the agenda, and also the styles. Of course, you don't need to copy, but you need just to understand why. From my point of view, it's the biggest suggestion. And also about the talks. You can find a lot of recorded talks on YouTube and other platforms. Watch it, try to understand how a talk work, how you can present yourself and introduce the topics and change stuff and change slides, and use your fantasy for the rest.
And
That's amazing.
last and final tip, contribute to open source. This is that's the easiest way.
Thank you all so much. I just wanted to add here in the end that we were mentioning resources, and I was just sharing a few in the comments. You can find CNCF meetup chapters everywhere in the world, and usually all these chapters are looking for speakers. So if you're not sure that you want to apply to KubeCon yet and you're still scared, please try and find your local chapter, because it's amazing groups of people, and it's your place to shine there. Yeah, and I'm also sharing KCD Porto, KCD Warsaw Sessionize. If you'd like to join the bigger stage, we're always looking for speakers. And we do have some proof here that it was a great event last year, so hopefully this one is going to be the same. And thank you so much, all of you. This was amazing. We're going to share this recording on YouTube probably soon, and it's going to be available for the community. So I don't know if you all want to provide your LinkedIns or some sort of data that anyone can contact you with questions, but we could share them later on our official CNCF website. Okay, that's it. Can we take a selfie? I'm going to take a screenshot as a brag document. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, done. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us today. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.